you a frequent flyer? Do you find even airlines' first-class service more frustrating than fulfilling? Well, you can charter a jet, but the greatest freedom comes when you own one. Let's get to know about the cost of owning a private jet. Costs of buying a private jet. The price for a brand new private jet ranges from $3 million to $90 million. Though secondhand jets are cheaper, they still cost millions of dollars. For perspective, a pre-owned Gulfstream G450 costs around $14.75 million on the Gulfstream website. With extras and customization, the price can soar to hundreds of millions of dollars. Given the costs, it's easy to see why so few opt for private ownership. The purchase price of a private jet represents only a fraction of the cost of owning one. Maintenance and repair costs depend on the size of the aircraft, but typically range from $500,000 to $4 million per year. The price of a private jet depends on its size, the number of passengers it can hold, and the distance it can fly. Because of that, fuel is one of the highest costs for jet owners. Planes with larger fuel tanks for long-range flights require more fuel. For example, the Bombardier Global 8000 has a fuel capacity of nearly 50,000 pounds. Depending on how much the plane is flown, fuel costs can reach $400,000 to $900,000 per year. Cost to charter a private jet. While renting a private jet is considerably more expensive than flying on a commercial flight, it is still much cheaper than buying your own jet. Flights on private jets are charged by the hour. Prices vary depending on the size of the jet, length of the flight, and the number of people on board. The typical cost is between $1,000 and $10,000 per hour to charter a private jet. Renting a jet for an entire weekend can run you $100,000 or more. However, unless you spend at least 150 hours a year flying, renting is probably a better option than buying. That way, you avoid many of the yearly maintenance costs. With on-demand charter, you don't incur costs such as hangar fees, maintenance fees, crew salaries, insurance, depreciation, interest, not to mention the cost of tying up capital in a multi-million-dollar asset, says Justin Crabb, CEO of private jet charter company Jetly. Less than 100 flight hours per year, the math is quite clear that chartering is much more cost-effective than owning an aircraft outright. Booking a private jet. Private jets usually sit about 6 seats for a light flight. To find out the cost of a seat, you need to find the hourly rate of the aircraft, the total flight time, and how many seats are on board. For instance, a 6-seat jet, that's $5,000 an hour, or $15,000 for a 3-hour flight, would cost each seat about $2,500. While this cost could be much higher or much lower depending on the company, it shows you the difference between flying on a private jet versus a commercial flight. For bookers who prefer first or business class, it might not seem like much of a difference to go on a private jet. But for commercial flyers in economy, this price might seem very high. It depends on the type of flyer you are. Private jet card memberships are services that allow you to access and benefit from your provider's aircraft. Different companies offer different levels and tiers of membership. For Jetly, the jet card membership will cost you almost $1,000 a month. A private jet app is similar to a regular flight booking app, where you put in where you're leaving from, where you're going, and your travel dates, and then you get matched with private jet booking options. You might need to create a login, but this lets you sign up for notifications and deals. Membership isn't always required, but for some companies it might get you an additional discount. You can browse by the type of jet you'd like, how many seats you'd like on the plane, and when you plan to depart. When you find your selection, you add your credit card and check out through the app. Owning a private jet. Owning a private plane is a luxury that isn't for mere millionaires. Meridian provides aircraft services like fueling, parking, maintenance, and providing charters, as well as managing aircraft for businesses and wealthy individuals. Owning a private plane is a luxury that's out of reach even for many millionaires. It's for guys worth $50, $60, $100 million. First of all, you have to buy the plane, which can cost you anywhere from $3 million to upwards of $90 million, depending on the size and customization. But beyond the upfront price, the cost of maintenance, fuel, and pilot salaries can easily add up to $1 million or more per year. If one pilot is paid a $250,000 salary, for example, you will need to pay that, plus benefits, And depending on the size of the plane and how often you fly it, you'll likely need 2 or 3 pilots, he said. Now that would bring the total annual cost for pilots alone to $750,000. But it may be difficult to even find a pilot. The private jet industry is in the midst of a pilot shortage, according to some reports. Many pilots are reportedly switching to flying commercial airlines where they can get better pay and more stable working hours. Another huge cost is fuel. Fill up the nearly 50,000-pound tank of a 17-seat Bombardier Global 8000, for example, cost you about $53,000. Then there are the hangar fees, which can cost $200,000 per year. Maintenance fees can quickly add up as well. To replace a plane's windshield, for example, could easily cost $60,000. Despite their glamorous reputation as the preferred mode of transportation for celebrities, most private jets are used for business. For many wealthy business people, the main draw of owning a private jet is saving time because, of course, time is money. While it could take days for a business traveler to fly commercial between certain destinations, if you have a private jet, you can go from A to B to C to D, all in a very short period of time, Stevens said. So it's really saving time that's saving money for businesses. While it may be worth it for the multimillionaires and billionaires of the world, there is no denying that flying private is an exceedingly pricey way to travel. For one of these bigger airplanes, let's just say it takes 15 minutes to taxi to the end of the runway. You're on the plane for 15 minutes, and say that's $2,500. For $2,500, you can go to Europe and back before you even took off. That's how much money you're spending. Before you buy or charter a private jet, it's important to evaluate the factors that influence the full price tag. Think ahead to the types of trips you want to take and the frequency at which you'll take them. Long trips with many people will likely require a more expensive plane than shorter, infrequent trips. When determining the overall cost of a jet, also make sure to factor in things like fuel, insurance, storage, and maintenance. How many people will be flying? Is your plane for you and a buddy, or is it how you plan to travel with your family? The number of people on the aircraft will determine the size of the plane you'll have to look for. The more people you need to fit into the plane, the costlier it could be compared to a smaller plane, fit for a couple of people. How often will you fly? Some planes are good for quick getaways and others are made for longer trips. Take into consideration when you plan to use your plane. If you think that you'll use it every few months, you might fly a different type of aircraft than someone who flies every weekend. So where do you want to go? Are you on the East Coast and hitting the Bahamas? Are you in California and wanting to head up to the Pacific Northwest? Shorter trips mean using an aircraft with a smaller fuel tank. If you're heading overseas or on a trip with many stops, consider getting a plane with greater fuel capacity. If you're buying new or used, the cost of a brand new plane might be higher than that of a used plane. However, the model and size of the plane also determine the cost. In general, older planes cost significantly less than newer ones, although keep in mind any additional maintenance, insurance, or upkeep costs. The number of staff members on board. You'll also have to factor in the cost of hiring pilots and flight attendants, whether you're buying or chartering your jet. According to Aviation Voice, you'll have to budget upwards of $200,000 per year for a skilled crew. You can find a crew through an aircraft management company or through the company chartering your jet. How much maintenance you'll need? So in addition to fuel costs and flight crew salaries, you'll need to budget for regular and sometimes unexpected maintenance expenses. A cracked windshield or a mechanical issue can cost tens of thousands of dollars, and that price may be higher for older models. Minor maintenance should be performed regularly, just like with a vehicle. So what do you think? What do you think about all these costs of owning and maintaining a private jet? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on the channel.